What if the people sworn to defend the Constitution were being pressured to pledge loyalty to a politician instead? That's not fiction. That's what allegedly happened at Fort Bragg, where soldiers were reportedly told to keep their political beliefs quiet or be removed from an event with the president. A MAGA merch stand popped up on base, and the military's long-standing tradition of neutrality shattered. In a fiery congressional hearing, Congressman Pat Ryan confronted top brass demanding answers, calling out violations, and even urging the Secretary of Defense to resign.
Talk about what happened at Fort Bragg 2 days ago. There was guidance put out, and this has been verified by multiple independent news outlets, saying, quote, these are to the soldiers of the 18th Airborne Corps and U.S. Army. If soldiers have political views that are in opposition to the current administration, then they need to speak with their leadership and get swapped out. This is swapped out of the event with the president. In addition, in an incredibly disturbing incident, there was a pop-up shop selling MAGA merchandise on post at Fort Bragg. And to summarize this, there was a commander from Bragg who said on the record, quote, "This has been a bad week for the Army, for anyone who cares about us being a neutral institution. This was shameful." If those are the facts, and I know the Army is investigating at least the MAGA pop-up shop, is that appropriate, General Kane?
Sir, I haven't seen any of these reports. I'm not familiar with them, but as I mentioned earlier and in my confirmation hearing, the nation demands a apolitical, nonpartisan military.
I appreciate you saying that and happy to share those reports. Secretary Hegseth, are you familiar with DoD Directive 1344.10? Political activities of the members of the armed forces?
Well, first off, I don't buy into your
yes or no?
insinuation
Are you familiar
that pledges
with,
are being done under this administration. That's
I reclaim my
insinuation.
time. Are you familiar with this DoD directive?
There's never one time in my service or in this
Mr.
Defense
Secretary,
Department.
will you please answer
I'm answering your
these
question
questions?
where politics has been considered for service members.
Are you familiar with this directive? Yes or no?
Which directive?
DoD Directive 1344.10. I'm happy to provide you a copy. There's even a one-page red and green cheat sheet. Are you familiar with it? This is the same directive from when we were all in uniform.
I'm sure I am.
Has anything changed in that directive under your guidance, given what happened 2 days ago at Fort Bragg? Is there a new policy change that we're not aware of?
Again, I totally reject your insinuation.
Is there a policy change to DoD Directive 1344.10?
I know what you're attempting to insinuate, but there's
I'll
no
take that as a
policy
no.
change and there is no policy.
Mr. Secretary, have you ever worn a MAGA hat in front of the troops?
I own plenty of MAGA hats, but I don't.
Have you ever
know that I
worn
have.
one in front of the troops at an official event? I don't
I'm
believe
aware
so.
of.
I don't believe so. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to wear political merchandise, including a MAGA hat, at official events, including West Point commencement?
The Commander-in-Chief
Yes or no?
can wear whatever hat he wants, to include the phrase, "Make America Great Again," because I would like to
you
make
think
America
that's-
great again as well.
So you think that's appropriate?
The Commander-in-Chief has the right, in front of his troops, to wear whatever he'd like.
Okay, I strongly disagree with you. And I urge you both, especially you, General Kane, as we see an increasingly political rhetoric, including from the Secretary, to please, for the good of our troops, this is an incredibly difficult moment, and we need leaders like you to continue to echo the apolitical nature. I have 12 seconds. Mr. Secretary, I don't say this lightly. I have to say this on the record. I think your tenure as Secretary of Defense has been shameful and weak, and you should resign. I yield back.
Gentlemen.
This wasn't political theater. It was a direct attack on the erosion of democratic norms within our armed forces. If soldiers are being turned into campaign props, what does that mean for the Republic? Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear might change how you see the U.S. military forever. Fort Bragg became the center of a storm no one saw coming. It wasn't just a local controversy, it was a national wake-up call. Reports began to surface that junior officers were being told to take a political loyalty oath if they wanted to participate in a presidential visit, a requirement that sounds less like America and more like a dystopian novel. And if that wasn't enough, a pop-up shop was caught selling MAGA merchandise right on base, turning military grounds into a campaign gift shop. The backlash was immediate. Soldiers and commanders were rattled. One officer went on record saying, "This has been a bad week for the Army, for anyone who cares about us being a neutral institution. This was shameful." Then came Congressman Pat Ryan, veteran, West Point grad, and someone who isn't afraid to speak bluntly when the stakes are this high. In a no-nonsense tone he addressed General Kane, asking him point-blank if he had ever been required to pledge political loyalty at any point in his decades of service. Kane, calm but firm, replied, "No, sir," and when asked if he had ever served in any unit where others were forced to do so, again, a resolute no. Ryan wasn't just checking boxes, he was drawing a line in the sand, the line between duty to country and allegiance to a political figure. And when General Kane reaffirmed his commitment to a nonpartisan military, Ryan made it clear, "That is the standard, and I commend you for continuing to model it." But the praise didn't last long, because the next man in the hot seat was Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and things took a dramatic turn. Ryan came in sharp, referencing a critical Department of Defense directive, DOD 1344.10, which explicitly bans political activity by members of the armed forces. He asked Hegseth a simple yes or no, "Are you familiar with this directive?" Hegseth dodged, he shifted, he fumbled. He started defending the president, claiming there were no pledges required under his administration. Ryan wasn't having it. He cut in, reclaiming my time. "Are you familiar with this directive?" It was a simple question, one every top military official should have an answer to. But instead of clarity, the room filled with tension. Hegseth kept dancing around the question, trying to downplay the very rules that hold our military. When pressed again on whether any policy had changed, Hegseth snapped back, "I totally reject your insinuation." But that's the thing, Ryan wasn't insinuating, he was exposing. If there's no new policy, then how did a loyalty pledge directive get issued at Fort Bragg? If neutrality is still the rule, then why was a MAGA merch table allowed to operate on a U.S. Army post? These weren't baseless claims, they were verified by multiple news outlets and whistleblowers inside the chain of command. And when Ryan asked Hegseth if he had ever worn a MAGA hat in front of troops during an official event, the answer was blurry. "I own plenty of MAGA hats," Hegseth admitted, "but I don't believe I wore them in front of troops." Let that sink in. The Secretary of Defense couldn't definitively say he hadn't worn partisan gear in front of soldiers during official duties, and it didn't stop there. Ryan asked if the President of the United States, acting as Commander-in-Chief, should be wearing political merchandise like MAGA hats at military events including West Point commencement. Hegseth's response, "The Commander-in-Chief has the right to wear whatever he wants. I'd like to make America great again too."
Whoa.
That wasn't a defense of free expression. That was a complete sidestep of the core issue, the dangerous blurring of lines between political campaigning and military ceremony. If we start treating soldiers like stage props for political theater, we lose one of the foundational principles that sets our democracy apart: civilian control of an apolitical military. In that hearing room, Ryan's voice echoed louder than most. Because he wasn't just asking tough questions, he was speaking the truth. "This isn't about political sides," he said. "This is about the Constitution." And when Hegseth failed to provide a clear answer on any of it, Ryan delivered the final blow. "I don't say this lightly," he said, staring directly at the Secretary.
Your
"Tenure as Secretary of Defense has been shameful and weak, and you should resign." The silence after that moment, it said everything. This wasn't just a soundbite for the evening news, it was a gut check. A reminder that leadership means standing up, even when it's uncomfortable, to protect what matters most: integrity, honor, duty, and the most chilling part, Hegseth still couldn't see the problem. Throughout the entire he appeared more interested in defending political slogans and denying responsibility than in acknowledging the damage being done to military credibility. He refused to admit whether the directive had been violated. He refused to condemn the MAGA shop. Refused to acknowledge the deep concern from within the ranks themselves. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a choice. Do we allow the armed forces to become a partisan playground, where loyalty to a political figure outweighs loyalty to the Constitution? Do we step up like Ryan did, and demand accountability before the damage becomes irreversible? Because once the line between patriot and partisan disappears, it doesn't come back so easily. And that's why this moment matters more than ever.
Ball.
Fort Bragg may have been the spark, but the fire is spreading. Soldiers are watching. Citizens are watching. The world is watching. In the end, Congressman Ryan wasn't just calling out one man. He was issuing a warning to an entire system that's teetering on the edge. A system that must decide whether it still stands for the flag, or for whoever happens to be waving it. So, what do you think? Is the military being politicized beyond repair? Should the Secretary of Defense step down for failing to protect the armed forces' neutrality? Or is this just another political storm that will blow over? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because the next story we're covering might be even more explosive. Thanks for watching.